the certificate is issued. And if you look at the proforma specifically, this is with respect to the footage from a CC camera, specifically from DVR, what we call as digital video recorder, which is connected to the CC camera. So if you see that, we have mentioned that as a heading, and see the first thing. This is to certify the time. So we are supposed to mention your name and whether you're issuing that certificate in your personal capacity or in your official capacity. If you insert it, if you are doing it in your personal capacity, just say reside at, or if you're doing it in the official capacity, put it as work at. You can then insert the address, or you can insert the name of the company. Then I am the owner or in charge or the user of the DVR installed in the location. So therefore, if you are the in charge of the CC cameras and other things, you are supposed to give a declaration that way, telling that I am the in charge of so and so, and then you provide the details as follows. First, what is the electronic record that you have produced here? The electronic record here is nothing but the CC camera footage, basically. So you have to write down about the same, telling what is the electronic record that is put in. Then, second, you have to write down the technical specifications like the model name, serial number, the brand name, and things like that. And fourth, if you have used any software here, for example, since this is a specific software relating to CC cameras, so if there is there any conversion software or not, basically. So you'll have to put that compression and conversion software. So these are the first few things that you have to make note of. So I essentially first mentioned the fact that what is the kind of evidence that you are going to, source of digital evidence. Then second, mention about you, your name and your designation, whether you're doing it in official or personal capacity. Next, go ahead and then mention about the fact that you are the proper person in charge of the said device. Then go ahead and mention the electronic record, because all these, remember the fact that any digital evidence is an electronic record under the IT Act. So first mention about this digital kind of what do you say, electronic record. So whether it's a CC footage, whether it's a what do you say, email, or whether it's anything else, you'll have to first write down about the electronic record. Then write down the model numbers and details, technical specifications. Then put these fact that is there any software used or not. Then certify the following. So look at this, what you have put. I certify the aforesaid video footage, the name of the video file, because it is very important that you also make a mention about the name of the file. Should you copy that into a pen drive or a hard disk or any device, you should mention the file name over there. You say I am certifying the aforesaid so and so, which is the name of the file is so and so, and it is generated from this device. And what are you certifying? Now go further. What we are doing. The recordings contained in the above DVR were generated in the ordinary course of business. Go back to the essential conditions that we discussed. It is the computer is used in the regular course of business. So therefore, you have to first give that statement. Next, go one more further. During the period of so and so, so and so. So whatever is the period that you are relying upon, the dates and the time. So you say that it was working fine at that point of time. So first one, ordinary course of business. Second one, it was working fine, no operational problems during that set period. Third, during that, you say that it was in my possession and my safe custody. Fourth, what are the inbuilt security mechanisms that you have in place? So you may make a note of all the in-house security measures that you have in place, like password protection and access control and things like that. Next, whatever is the electronic record that is generated, it is true to the best of your knowledge. So you're supposed to say it is true. That is the next one. Then it is working fine till today. The working condition. You'll also have to specify the working condition and when the output was actually derived. And the data was transferred. Since it is a secondary one, obviously it's going to be transferred to some device. So not from the original device, because it is a copy that we are putting in secondary evidence. So you write down the details from where it is, if it is a pen drive, a hard disk, or if it's a CD, whatever it is. You write down the device to which the data is transferred. Then you personally say that I was responsible for the copying of that said data. It was done in my presence. That is technical expert. So if you are a technical expert, yes, fine. Or else, if you're doing it in the presence of a technical expert, you can write the name of the person. And the last but not the least, you'll have to say that I am computer literate and I have so and so qualifications in IT, because these are mandatory. When you are operating a device, when you are in charge of a device, obviously you are expected to have the requisite qualification and experience. So therefore, you'll have to mention about that as well. And last, tell that all these are true to the best of your knowledge and sign. So once again, I'm just trying to go through the certificate once more. If you look at the beginning, we have tried to mention that fact that it is a 65B certificate, and you have to mention from where is the source of this digital evidence that you have extracted, CC camera, or is it what do you say, computer, or is it a laptop, is it whatever it is it a phone? You'll have to first write the details over there. Then you write down the certification telling that this is to certify, because you are preparing a certificate, we are using certify that. Then you write down your name. If you're doing it in official or personal capacity, you note down that. Then you say I am the right in charge of the either I own it or I am in charge of the said device. Then you mention about the electronic record. What is the kind of electronic record that you are relying upon? Is it a document, a footage, an audio, or something like that? Then you write down the technical specifications of the said device. Then you say if there is there any software. If there is a software, you can mention the software there. Here, what you can do is if you are relying on WhatsApp message, you can just say the app is WhatsApp here. So instead of software, you just say app is WhatsApp. Then you certify that particular file name. So whatever is the file name, or if there's no file name, you can just say that this is a message dated so and so, time so and so. So you can, if it is a message, you can put that over there. If it's a message that you are relying on, then you say all these things. Number one, whatever is the kind of device that you are actually using, it is used in the regular course, an ordinary course, and it is in my position at that point, or it is in my position. Then you actually try to provide the details, the time period, and then certify that it was working fine at that point, and no operational issues affecting the accuracy. Then you say that it was in my possession, and what is the inbuilt security measures. If you have any, if this is a phone, you have some lock or something. You mentioned the pin, saying that it was protected by way of pin or a pattern or a password or something like that. You mentioned the inbuilt security mechanisms. Then you say that this is whatever is the information that is derived and fed is true, basically. And next, you say it was in working condition till today, and also from the date where when the respective message or the output was actually derived. And if you are trying to put this on a paper, or if you're trying to put this on a pen drive or a hard disk or whatever it is, see, sometimes if it is a WhatsApp message, you might take a printout of the screenshot, right? Then you also mention about that here, saying it's so and so, so and so, and say I personally did it. And then if you're taking a screenshot, just say that I have taken a screenshot personally. And if you are an expert, fine. If you have done it in the presence of any technical expert, then you can mention that technical expert's name also there. Then finally, you can make two things, saying you have the understanding of the said device, and also what is your qualification with respect to IT. And finally, just say this is true to the best of my knowledge. So, are you now aware of how to draft the certificate? Do you get a clarity now?
Yes.
Yeah. Sure.
Yep.
So, practically, whatever we discussed in the morning, you just see how it is incorporated into the certificate. The computer was working fine. There was no defect or operational issues with the computer, and no effect to the accuracy of the input. Then it was used in regularly, and then it was working fine. And then at that point, when the evidence was extracted, and finally say that you are having the understanding of copying it. If you, since it's a secondary device, you are transferring it in the presence of either a technical expert, or if you know how to transfer, then fine, no problem. And finally, you're saying that this is true to the best of my knowledge, and you're also trying to say that this is your qualification with respect to the same. So this can apply to anything. if you're taking it from a network, for example, any data being available on a network, you can do that. If you are in charge of a network, yes, you can do that. Any record, any document, suppose you can do that. So whatever be the electronic record, that electronic evidence or digital evidence that you intend to produce, you can issue that. So this is matter of fact certificate, what we're discussing in the morning. So whatever you've seen, you're reporting that by way of a document, which is nothing but the certificate. So this is matter of fact certificate. So are we clear on this, participants? Any doubts, any clarifications?
Okay.
Are you now clear of on it?
Okay.
Okay, if you're all clear, then I would request you to do one thing. Uh, I would want you to draft out a sample certificate, since you all are on your systems now. So you can now go ahead and draft out a sample certificate, basically, for mm, let's say if you're copying this copying information from a memory card of a mobile phone. Let's say that you're copying the contents from a mobile phone and you're putting that in a memory card. You're producing copy of that in a pen drive. Let's say that, okay, I'll make it very easy for you. So imagine that you have a particular device, and in your device you recorded some video, and you intend to put that video as an evidence, but you do not want to submit your phone to the court. So you're giving a 65B certificate. Whatever are the video contents that you shot in your phone, you're transferring it into a pen drive, and you're submitting that pen drive in a court. So I'm repeating the question once more. See, you are recorded something on your mobile phone. So that recording you want to submit as evidence in a court of law. So you do not want to directly give your mobile phone. Instead, you want to give them the certificate, because you do not want to give your mobile phone directly. So you copied the entire video into a pen drive from your mobile phone, and you are actually submitting that pen drive to the court. Now I would want you to prepare a sample 65B certificate regarding this. So now the time is 2:21. So I give you time for another 20 minutes till 2:40. So I would request all the participants to go ahead and draft the sample certificate. And I would want each of you to, if it is, Pranav, is there a possibility for allowing them to share the screens?
Yeah, they can share the screen, sir.
Okay, done. Then I would request all the participants to share the screens and explain, so that I would be having an understanding. So are we clear on it? So till 2:40 or 2:45, I'll give you 25 minutes time. No problem. Go ahead, because I would want you to get the practical hands-on experience. So that's the thing. So 2:45. So you understood the scenario, right? Any doubts in the scenario?
So
Are
that
everybody
video
clear?
has been taken from that mobile itself, right?
Yeah, from your mobile itself. You have witnessed something. You have recorded the video. Now you want to produce that video as evidence, but you do not want to give your mobile phone. So you copy that video onto a pen drive and you submit that pen drive. Since it's a secondary evidence, you will be required to give 65B certificate. Now prepare a 65B certificate on the basis of this. You have a template also, which is there on the screen. So you can make use of the same and then draft it out. But I want all the participants to draft it out, and let each participant individually share their screen and explain, so that I get an understanding on it. So 25 minutes.
I'm not able to see the template anymore, sir. It's blank screen.
Pranav, could
Is it not
you?
visible?
No, it
I
is.
mean, it's visible to me.
What about others?
Yeah, it is
Can
visible.
someone confirm?
Oh, okay.
Fine. Is everybody able to see the screen?
Sir, I can share this document, right? I'll just put it in the
Okay.
group if you
Okay.
want.
Put it. Put it. But I would want you to be a little creative. You don't need to do a copy paste of the same thing. You understand the essence and you can put it. My only request to you is that, because I would like you to understand and analyze. You can share it, no problem.
Okay.
And 25 minutes, and then we'll come back. But remember, I want every participant to share the screen and explain. So Pranav, please coordinate so that everybody is actually participating here. I would want all the participants to do that.
All right, sir.
Okay. So I'm muting and I will connect back another 25 minutes. 2:50 I will be back. So then we'll again go through this so that you get a hands on.
Where are you sharing, Pranav?
I'll share in the unofficial group of both the.
Sorry. Sorry. Sharing on where?
I'll
What?
share on WhatsApp itself, unofficial groups.
Okay.
Has everyone completed?
Just
Pranav,
doing
can
it.
you? Okay, okay.
If you're done, you can drop a yes in the chat, everyone.
You
Sir, I think
recorded
those
both
who are
of
done with it, they can start sharing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. No, let everybody finish, no, so that there won't be a problem. Wait for 5 more minutes if needed, no problem.
Okay, sir, sure, we'll do that.
So, what is the situation currently? How many more to complete?
Right now, 5 of them have said yes, sir.
What about others? Can you respond? Is everyone done? How many more to go, Pranav? Can you just check and confirm?
Just a minute, I'll just check. 7 are done, sir. 3 more should.
Everyone.
There are 3 more who are not responded.
Okay. Participants, those you have not done, could you please confirm so that we can go and start? I think 2 more participants, right?
Yeah, sir.
Remaining participants, could you confirm so that we can start?
Yeah, we can start, I think so.
Okay. Who's going to go first?
Shall I go first, Abhishek, this side?
No problem. Go ahead. So please share your screen and then we want to look at it and then we can explain.
Right. Is my screen visible?
No, Abhishek.
No.
No, Abhishek, it's not.
No. Sorry. I think it must be visible now. Blue screen.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it?
visible.
Okay.
Yes, please go ahead.
Right. So I've just what I've done is I assumed that the mobile clip was there of a few minutes and
Okay.
entered the basic details
Okay.
of the clip which I captured.
Okay.
Firstly, mentioned the name of company as ABC Logistics.
Okay. Great.
And mobile details, IMEI number,
Okay.
and the device make, model, then compression, and
Okay.
the name of the footage format,
Okay.
then duration is the next thing.
Okay.
5 minutes basically when it was
Okay.
recorded,
Okay.
and I don't see any. It's like a next time was like point number 3. I added there that what are the kind of security which is there in mobile, password and biometric screen lock,
Okay. Great.
and how I connected it basically. So taken from mobile to a pen drive using the transfer data using a cable.
Okay.
And I think more or less that's it. There was nothing. It's like
Okay. But
nothing.
you got
Nothing
an
yeah.
But you got a hands-on experience now.
Yeah, definitely. So I have seen this form earlier. I have filled for DVRs once or twice, but yeah, first time I filled it on my own. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent, excellent, very good. Really appreciate the kind of effort that you have taken. I'm really excited. Thank you so much. Yes, can we have the next participant?
Shall I go
Yeah, I'll
next?
share my screen.
Please go ahead.
No, she may share.
So I have taken this format stating to which court I'm submitting the complaint number and who is the
Okay.
complaint and who's the accused, and
Okay.
then and given the personal information and
Okay.
when the where I'm attaching this video record and all the stuffs,
Okay.
and given the mobile video
Okay.
recorded device information and
Okay.
where the video is now copied that device information,
Okay.
and then stating giving that this video is not tampered or it is original, all those information, and signing it.
Okay. But where are the other things that you have put in regular course of business? Where is that point relating to regular course of business or regular course? And not and it was working fine. Where is the point that it was working fine?
Working fine of the video, right?
No, device. The device from where you have taken the
Okay.
extract. See the mobile. You'll have to certify even the working of the mobile because that is the main place from where you have extracted the evidence.
Okay.
So you're supposed to mention those 5 conditions which are there in the 65B certificate. 65B section. First point, if you look at it, I mean, the fact that it is working fine. And second, there's
Okay.
no operation or any other issue with respect to that. Third, it was used in the regular course of business. Fourth, the data was accurate and then no tampering of that is possible. Fifth, that it was copied from on this date and this is the time and this is the name of the file and this was working fine till when you copied it from the mobile to the pen drive. So all these details are supposed to be mentioned basically.
Okay.
So I think you missed out on few of them.
Yes.
So please look into that the next time so that you are aware of it.
Sure.
But it's a great work because I'm really happy. But you have taken even the deepest possible measure of even including the device details from where it was copied and also the above where which code you have submitted. Really happy for it. Good.
Thank you.
Yes. Can we have the next participant?
Let me share my screen. Is it visible?
Yeah, this one. Please.
So I have taken your format only. So I
Okay.
mentioned the mobile, then
Okay.
the memory card in that mobile, and then the device to be copied, like pen drive.
Okay. Okay.
Then the
Okay.
file which needs to be like whatever is generated file name.
Okay.
Okay, at what time it has been recorded, that record,
Okay.
and then the mobile which is been it is been recorded, it was like working till date, whichever is
Okay.
like when we have mentioned, like whatever
Great.
was date. Okay. After that, it was in my the security measures, whatever was there in that
Okay.
mobile. Then
Okay.
that pen drive, whatever we are copying it, that also is working till today when we are copying it.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay, and then it has been copied through the data. Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
then I have personally copied that data to pen drive, and I confirm that that copied data to pen
Okay.
drive is and it is identical to copy of original, so it is not been
Okay.
tapped.
Okay.
Then my
Excellent.
and then this is the just for declaration.
Okay. Excellent. I mean, really
So like this
impressive.
5 topic, these 5 things I have got covered in that.
Correct. Excellent. Excellent. Really happy. And you had also mentioned about the pen drive, that was working fine at the time of copy. So that's a great one. Good. I mean, really appreciate you for that. It's very good. Yes. Can we have the next participant?
Can I go next? If no one is.
Yes, please go ahead.
Please let me know once you can see it.
Yes, we can share. See,
So this
please go.
is primarily covered based on the NVR CCTV
Okay.
installed in a common area. And
Okay.
so based on that, I've given the description. I've acknowledged my name and the location where I belong and where the
Okay.
CCTV surveillance camera was installed.
Okay.
And also provided the footage name, including the date
Okay.
stamp and the format.
Okay. Okay.
And also given a explanation of what this serial number signifies, that is the
Okay.
MMDD and the timestamp.
Okay.
Also the specification of the system that's being used, that is the NVR as well as the camera, along with the serial number, software, and the format codec that's been used.
Okay.
So after that, also it tells about what is the time during this particular time the system was working without no issues or any technical issues, and
Okay.
also it provides the security, and it also says that it was under the controlled environment and cannot be tampered. It's a tamper
Okay.
activated with password and authorization required to modify the parameter.
Okay.
And also it said that the device which they are viewing, which is iPad, and
Okay.
it was working as of that particular day.
Okay.
And also it has been transferred the data directly from NVR via computer using data cable.
Okay. Okay.
And also providing that I was personally involved in copying the information to iPad using my credentials. And
Okay.
also, yeah, this kind of creative, which master degree in cybersecurity and above is true to best of my knowledge.
Excellent. Great. Great. Appreciate you for that. I mean, very nicely captured.
Thank you.
Any next participant?
Yeah, I can go next.
Please go ahead.
If you are getting my screen, sure.
No, it's not visible. Yeah, it's visible now. Yes, please.
Okay, yeah. So here I'm introducing myself and where I
Okay.
work. And
Okay.
then the next bullet, I'm mentioning the petition number.
Okay.
Then the second is mainly capturing the details of my mobile. And then
Okay.
I'm also giving identity for that. It
Okay.
is exhibit prosecution witness 1 and what is the
Okay.
make and serial number.
Okay.
And also mentioning the memory card which is inbuilt in it.
Okay.
So, and then the third one, I'm mentioning about the record, audio
Okay.
and video recording, and its duration and the date and time, including
Okay.
the zone.
Okay.
And also here I'm mentioning I'm producing the copy, and in the
Okay.
copy of pen drive where I'm
Okay.
mentioning it is a prosecution witness 2, and
Okay.
also the details of that pen drive
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
So here I'm mentioning it is the card out from the first evidence. And
Okay.
then also here I'm confirming the contents are all identical and
Okay.
not tampered here.
Okay. Okay.
And also here it is mainly about it is a true copy reproduction, and then also I'm ready to produce it on I think in person when needed as well. So that is
Okay.
mentioned here.
Okay.
And then yeah, I'm mentioning here in the bullet 6 that it is my mobile is in working condition and it is under
Okay.
usage, and the
Okay.
data transfer is taken directly from the mobile through the data
Okay.
cable.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm mentioning I'm personally involved, I'm literate, and then
Okay.
having the master's qualification, and then
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Consult.
Great. Excellent. Only one correction is that and the heading you can change from CCTV footage from DVR to mobile phone and
Yeah,
then mention
yeah,
it to pen drive.
yes, yeah, sure.
Otherwise, everything looks fine.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah. Can we have the next participant?
Yeah, I can go next. Just a second. Is it visible?
Yes, it's visible. Please go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So I have not changed much of the things. So
No
I have
problem.
changed here. It is a video audio recording from the mobile device.
Okay.
And here name my company details. So I'm working in Apple for this case at least.
Okay.
And the mobile use was iPhone 13, model number,
Okay.
phone number, IMEI for the
Okay.
slots,
Okay.
memory card details, and the software.
Okay.
And I had mentioned this recording was generated from mobile device in the course of activity, the duration, and it was in my possession, safe custody, etc.
Okay.
And the backup was taken on the pen drive. Pen drive details are
Okay.
also pasted, like
Okay.
candidate serial number and 32 GB size.
Okay.
And I'm a computer literate from Reva University, so no question asked from the panel. And
Okay.
the last name sign up.
Great. And just could you just move up once further? So I would just want you to tell that here the audio video recording from mobile to pen drive, because you are not producing the mobile, you're producing the pen drive. So I would like you to mention over there that to pen drive, so that because pen drive is something that you're putting as an digital evidence here, not the mobile.
Okay, okay, got it.
Otherwise, everything is fine. Excellent. Because all the details are covered, so it's great. Can we have the next participant?
Yeah, I can share.
I'll stop sharing.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, visible, please.
Yeah, so I have the subject line as the video footage from mobile to USB pen drive
Okay.
with the name and ABC India working in ABC India Bangalore location.
Okay.
So I'm the owner and in charge of the pen drive installed at ABC office, which contains a video
Okay.
package from the mobile phone camera. I've just
Okay.
given the details of the video format and the size.
Okay.
The pen drive model, serial number, size, and software I've used in FTK Imager and Ncache, and the compression is
Okay.
MP4. So
Okay.
this is the details of the mobile, iPhone, Apple, and IMI number.
Okay.
So I given that this is in my possession and is copied to the USB pen drive. So it is a
Okay.
second bit by bit copy from mobile phone, which was into my possession.
Okay.
Given the period from Jan 26 this date to May 27, the was operating properly and there is no such problems. And the
Okay.
pen drive was in safe custody and the software has been secured with password protected, no write access. Even the mobile
Okay.
is write protected and biometric authentication.
Okay.
The video footage, the exact replica of the image in mobile, and the
Okay.
mobile is also in working condition from this date to this date. And
Okay.
again, like it was copied and it has been used the FTK imager to get the exact replica and Ncache have been
Okay.
used to validate the hash values and
Okay.
systems.
Okay.
So I was personally involved in the copying and even have been verified by forensic technical expert Mr. Raj, something I've given.
Okay. Okay. Great.
And yeah, that's it.
Great. Excellent. So I'm really happy that all of you could actually relate to it. Great. Any other participants who are remaining?
I think Datta is not shared yet. Datta, if you can share.
In between, I have one question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
If this secondary medium, whatever we are
Hmm.
taking, like
Hmm.
pen drive,
Secondary evidence.
yeah, can we make it password protected?
In what sense?
Like only if that particular key is provided, then only like you encrypt the pen drive itself, that
Okay.
storage device.
But you have to surrender the storage. The password keys to the court.
Yeah, yeah. At the time of hearing only, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But
You can do that.
we can do that.
Yes, you can do that. No problem. You can do that because see, you're adopting reasonable security practices to ensure that the data in the respective device is not unauthorizedly used or not unauthorizedly
Yeah.
deleted by someone.
Yeah.
So you can do that, no problem. Nothing
Okay.
bars you from not doing it. The only thing at the time when you're producing it, you must share the complete, authentication measures to mechanism to them, so that and the key also to them, so that they will be able to access it.
Okay.
Maybe just a dumb question.
Please go ahead. No,
I
no, no, go
realized
ahead.
when mentioned about iPad. So in case if
Hmm.
you're giving this device and it's under the custody
Hmm.
in what is evidence room, in
Hmm.
case if something happens to the device,
Hmm.
will they be liable for it?
Definitely, they will be liable. That's where I said we are required to have in place a chain of custody form. So when I take this evidence basically and produce it, there's a report. First, I see what happens ideally in this scenario is I share out this. First, I have to give the if it's a secondary evidence. First, I have to submit that secondary evidence to the court and also submit the 65B certificate. Now the evidence gets admitted. Now once it's getting admitted, now until and unless proved otherwise, it is going to be accepted as true only by the court. But if the opponent or opposite counsel is going to challenge it, saying that this is not right, and we want to re-examine or we want to ensure that a forensic expert opinion is taken, then the court will order for a examiner of electronic evidence to come in. Then you will have to hand over that piece of evidence to the examiner of electronic evidence. When you are handing it over, they'll give you an acknowledgement. There is a chain of custody form which will be maintained, and they will do their analysis, and then they will submit their report to the court, and they'll also be called to testify their report in the court in the witness box, and then there'll be cross examination, and only once the court is satisfied with based on these, then that particular challenge will be accepted, and then you will as a now since they have raised objection, you will have the opportunity to counter and put your points with respect to whatever counter they have placed. So based on this, again the court will say, okay, they'll hear you out, they'll hear them out, and finally they'll understand it, and then based on the evidence, based on examination of witness, everything, they'll come to an understanding and they'll pass the judgment. So until and unless that is done, till then we need not really go and produce the document. It's enough if you produce the certificate in place.
Okay.
And should you do that, you can also ensure that see you can submit it, and the court, anything going thereafter wrong will be the liability of the police. You will not have any kind of liability.
Okay, got it.
Yes. We have one more participant.
Sir, Datta
think-
texted me. He has some issues with his mic. He'll be rejoining once again.
No problem. No
We
problem.
can wait for
Fine.
1 or 2 minutes.
No problem. No problem. So I just wanted to understand from all of you now, what is your experience now? How did you feel this experience of drafting out a 65B certificate?
You don't have to dependent on anyone now.
Okay.
That's huge thing.
Okay. So see now, if there's a necessary situation that can arise now, you are ready now. You're
Yes.
equipped with the required material, either from personal front or from a professional front. This is only very specific to the area of submitting the certificate in place. Now, expert opinion, they'll provide one another certificate basically, and they'll also give their report to you also. That the report also will be served to you. So you'll have the opportunity to go through the report given by the examiner of electronic evidence. Should a court call for it? If the court doesn't call for it, then there is no problem at all. The court will call only if it deems that there is a requirement of an expert opinion to come in here, because you will say it is not tampered, they will say it is tampered. Then if the court feels that there's an intervention required from an expert in this regard, then the court will call for an examiner of electronic evidence, and these people will take that device into custody. They'll do their analysis and they'll submit their report to the court, and they'll also be asked to come and testify in the court with respect to the report. And it is only an expert opinion. See, we have to clearly understand that no expert can dictate. See, the same doubt was expressed because when the Information Technology Act came in the year 2000, so digital signature was introduced as a authentication for electronic record. then a lot of people raised an objection. How can somebody who's not conversant with law or legal procedures take a call? Now the judge will say, you please give an expert opinion, and then based on that opinion, will they go ahead and take a call? No. Can the expert decide my fate? That was the doubt that was expressed. A lot of people expressed this doubt. But then they made a mandate that it's not the expert who's going to be taking the decision. It is the legally trained mind, who's nothing but the judge, who will be taking a call. So it is only an expert opinion. Even if an expert comes and testifies, that's where we said cross-examination will come into picture. So if I'm able to cross-examine and I find that the concerned forensic officer, whoever is it, was given this certificate, is unable to answer my queries properly or is unable to provide clarity, then that entire report can be considered as null and void. So that's the way that we can look at. So that's why equal opportunity will be provided. That's why this testify concept has been brought into picture. And you'll also, as a lawyer, on the other side, you can cross examination. You can do cross examination and get whatever question clarifications you want from them. So that's the whole point why this mechanism has been introduced. Otherwise, there is nothing, no problem at all. So this is the whole gamut of it actually. So now you got a hands-on experience on 65B certificate. Now, should anybody come and say 65B certificate, you are ready now with your points? Am I right?
Yes.
Great.
And it is required only for secondary evidence.
Only for secondary evidence, exactly. Primary, there's no problem at all. And this will be required by and large with respect to data on the cloud, because I cannot really produce the particular data which is physically made available in the cloud server, right? I do not know where my data is. I can't get the server cloud server and put it physically in the court, correct? So what do I do at that point? I'll have to give this certificate if I'm in charge of the kind of idea administration or data administration or something like that. So that is the whole reason why they brought this into picture. And this requirement has been confirmed. I was just discussing with you about Anwar versus Bashir case in the morning, and post that I told you Shafi Mohammed case where Supreme Court said no, if you do not have the possession of the device, you do not actually provide certificate. But that was again overruled in the case of Arjun Pandit Rao, wherein Supreme Court said we are going back to the old school of thought, which is Anwar versus Bashir. So there is a requirement now. So should you wish to produce any kinds of electronic evidence which is secondary, you have to mandatorily give this certificate. And this is only for the device, but it's not for the respective application. So please understand, if it's a WhatsApp message, the challenge is who's going to certify and say that WhatsApp was working fine at that point. You'll only be looking at the device specifically and not the application per se. Because if you look at the application, there's always going to be a challenge. Why there's going to be a challenge? Because I do not have the access to the algorithms and the security of WhatsApp to establish that WhatsApp was working fine at that point when this message was actually initiated. Right? Nobody can do that because you do not have access to the algorithms or the security system of WhatsApp to prove the same. So, given the situation, I can only say WhatsApp was working fine in my device. My device did not have any problem. My device was used regularly. My device is accurate at that time when the data is pulled. My device has got no compromise. And even if there is a compromise, it does not affect the accuracy of the message. So I will have to establish all of these points. So the logic and the reason why they put this could only be this and not anything else. Because I can't testify on behalf of or certify or testify on behalf of third party applications. Maybe WhatsApp, maybe social media, maybe any other application. But still, I would be required to have 65B certificate for the sole reason to prove the device, nothing else. It is only relating to the mechanical process, but not the software related process. So I hope you're getting the fundamental point, what I'm trying to say. So are you clear on this area?
Yes, sir.
Great. Pranav, go back to the first PPT if you can share. There's some more slides I think we missed out. If you can just connect the first PPT, then we'll quickly run through the same. Then we'll go into the cases so that.
Should we wait for Datta, sir, or?
Okay, we'll
Datta, are you
start.
there?
I'm back.
Okay, you
I
can
just
share
my
your.
Okay, please then. In the meantime, Pranav, you can open the first presentation and go to the last few slides
Sure.
so that we can get ready. Yes, your screen is visible. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, if you see the initial introduction, so this is to certify that I am Datta residing in the particular colony and owner of the surveillance camera which is installed at the particular colony.
Okay.
So this has an electronic record
Okay.
with the timestamp and the recording format.
Okay.
Which is mentioned. And the system specifications include the Cisco 7 channel.
Okay.
The NVR and the surveillance camera make and the model, which is
Okay.
3520 IP.
Okay.
And associated serial number and video formats with it.
Okay.
So I certify the aforesaid CC footage daily recording generated from the above NVR that the following details have been generated.
Okay.
So the time when till what time it has from when to when the video recording has been generated, I have just mentioned.
Okay.
So during this period, the NVR was in my possession and under controlled environment and safe custody. The software has built-in security mechanisms, including the tamper-proof activated.
Okay.
And yeah, the electronic record generated from the above NVR has been derived from the information which is fed into and true exact of the data into the aforesaid device. That is, I have given as iPad and yeah.
Okay.
And above said iPad is in working condition till the particular date. And when output was taken and from the NVR, the data transferred on the aforesaid has been taken directly from the NVR by connecting with the computer through the data cable.
Okay.
So I'm personally involved in copying the data on this iPad device using my credentials.
Okay.
So I'm a computer literate and having master degree in the cybersecurity in IT industry. Above stated matter is true to the best of my knowledge and belief.
Great. So you also covered the essential elements. Great. Excellent.
And only one query I have, sir.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
If this is generally like on what conditions this particular note or a kind of what do you call certificate has to be prepared? The evidence act or something.
No, it has to be prepared in accordance with Section 65B of the Indian Evidence Act. So, 65B of the Indian Evidence Act talks about what kind of conditions you will have to provide with respect to admissibility of digital evidence, which is secondary in nature. I don't even say secondary, they have not mentioned, they've just mentioned the fact that these are the conditions that you have to have in case you want to make your evidence legally admissible. So these conditions are stipulated under Section 65B of the Evidence Act. So whatever are these conditions which are there, that the computer is working fine, no tampering is there, it was used in the regular course of business, and then no output has been affected. It is, at that point when I'm extracting evidence, it was working fine. So all these are the conditions which are stipulated and mentioned in Section 65B of the Indian Evidence Act. So based on that only the certificate is prepared. So that is the reason we call it as 65B certificate. So I hope that answers your query.
If any tampering of data or anything happens.
Okay. Then what happens is at that point they see now you are producing it because for as per your understanding there is no tampering that has taken place. Yes. Right? So you submit this matter of fact certificate to the court. Whatever you have observed, you have mentioned it there. Right? Now let the court determine whether there is any problem or not. So the court is also satisfied and the other side also doesn't raise any problem, then this will be accepted. Suppose the other party says there's some tampering that has happened, then the court will also ask you. And should you say that no, tampering has not happened in this case, and the court really feels that there's a requirement of getting the expert opinion in this case, then the same will be passed on to the examiner of electronic evidence, and the examiner of electronic evidence will then give their expert opinion on this. So then they will have an understanding on the same. And again, just because the reports are different, you say there's no tampering, examiner of electronic evidence says that there's some tampering. Justify.
Okay.
Here is that have the option to cross-examine them. Whoever is the respective officer, so you will have the opportunity to cross-examine him and put up all your queries. So once you are able to establish, and or if you are able to say that no, whatever his report is not correct, if you are able to establish that before a court, then the court will say, okay, this particular report that you have generated is not correct because no tampering is possible according to the present situation. So they will just take that as an opinion, but they are not coming up with a decision.
Okay. Okay.
So I hope you're getting the understanding.
Yeah.
I hope you're getting the understanding.
Yes. Yes.
So only then, just because see, an examiner of electronic evidence gives an expert opinion doesn't mean that your doors are closed. You still have an opportunity to prove that he's wrong. If you are able to establish that the report given by the examiner of electronic evidence is not true, then the court, if it believes that there is a reasonable ground to the contention made by you, then the court will definitely accept it. But what we require is evidence, and how you place it before the court in a manner which is more reasonable in terms of law. So the judge will ultimately have a call whether to accept it or dismiss it, and then he will take the final call of writing down the judgment. Are you clear on it now?
Yeah. Yes.
Done. Good. So participants, any other queries on this? If not, then Pranav, could you please go connect
I'll
the
share
first
the screen.
PPT? Yeah, please. Yeah, go to the next point. Okay. This is also done. Next. Yes. Now regarding blockchain, there is one another point. See how I just put this as my interpretation so that you can understand it better. Do you have an idea about blockchain? We discussed in the first class. Does everybody have an understanding of blockchain? If you're having an understanding, let me know. Give me a response. Or if you think you want me to explain about blockchain once again, I would like to explain. Because then I would like to relate to this point.
No, understanding is there for blockchain.
Everybody, all the participants? No problem. Please don't feel hesitant. But give me a response, all the participants. Are you clear on blockchain? If you're clear, then it makes sense to me. Otherwise, I will have to repeat it. So since I'm getting some feedback that it is yes, I'm presuming that you have an understanding, basic understanding on blockchain. So let me go back to the discussion. Now, in a blockchain, like we discussed in the initial class, now the moment I share the information on the block, it is visible to all the parties who are there on the blockchain, right? So that is where we are saying it is transparent. So my question is, if I share a particular piece of document, and that document is something that I want to rely as an electronic or digital evidence, where is the question of 65B certificate here? Because the main concept here is secondary evidence. Only for secondary evidence, I will have to issue the 65B certificate. But in terms of blockchain, everybody has got the copy, right? If I am the person, let's say that all of us who are part of this session today, let's think, for example, that this PowerPoint presentation, whatever you're seeing, is the information which I want to rely as an evidence. So this is the digital evidence that I want to produce before a court. And think all of us are connected in the blockchain now. Now to everybody, this PPT is visible, correct? And not only that, let's think for example that this PPT automatically is sent after the class to everybody. Now, which is the copy, which is the original? It's a big challenge. Because the moment I create it and I give a copy, mechanically, because of the nature of blockchain, it is getting distributed to everybody. So that's a mechanical process. So which is primary evidence here, which is secondary evidence? It's a big challenge. And should I have to give a certificate? If I have to give a certificate, how will I issue it? So therefore, I will have to look into section 62 of the Evidence Act, specifically explanation 2. So what does explanation 2 of section 62 say? It says if number of copies of a document, are created by a mechanical process, right? Every such document is a primary evidence, right? So what does it say? It says that if I create number of copies, so in blockchain, what happens? Number of copies are created. It is sent to all the parties who are part of the blockchain. And how is this copy is done? This is done not by you and me. It is done by the mechanical process. So if the copies are created out of a mechanical process, each and every copy is considered to be the primary evidence. So therefore, it is not considered as a secondary evidence under this section. So therefore, I can say that for a blockchain related evidence, there need not be the question of secondary evidence by applying this proposition. This is purely the interpretation because we do not have any blockchain law in India currently, and we do not have any kinds of what do you say blockchain evidence related matters yet in India. So for an argument's sake, I just thought I should give you this perception so that you'll have an understanding on how this can be applied basically. And authenticity is already proved because date and time etc are already there. So applying this, there is no need of section 65b. And one more primary aspect: who owns the blockchain? Again, becomes a issue here. Now, if I want to give a certificate in a blockchain transaction, I should be the person in charge of that, or I should be the owner of that. But how can someone own the blockchain? Second, how can somebody be in charge of the blockchain here? So all of us are only users of blockchain. We are not in charge. So therefore, that is the whole concept of blockchain, where where intermediaries are eliminated. But however, service providers may be there. Yes, that's another question altogether. But just to tell you that I can interpret this under section 62 explanation 2 and say that whatever information I'm creating in a blockchain, that means the data that I'm sharing on blockchain, by a mechanical process, it is sent to all the participants in the blockchain, all the stakeholders in the blockchain. Since it is done mechanically by a process and not otherwise, every copy that is received, that means you have one copy, I have one copy, the other participants also have a copy. So the copy available with everybody is a primary evidence. It's not a secondary evidence. So under this rule. So this is something that I just wanted to put forth before you. This is one kind of a proposition. So do you have any issues, any clarifications? Are you clear?
Yes, I have one
Please go ahead.
point. So in Telangana, for all the land disputes, government is
Correct.
accepting this as a primary evidence.
I mean, this is one interpretation to look at basically. We have not had any disputes in Telangana yet on this domain. So no challenges have been made. So by using this proposition, I am trying to say that we can go ahead and say that it is a primary evidence. But no challenge has been made and no decision has been passed by any court as of now. So should there be any decision, then definitely we will have some clarity. But currently there have not been any decisions made by the court with respect to this. But
So
using this
no
proposition, I
cases
can make
as such. No
no
cases
cases
as
as
such.
such. No cases as such. But should there be a case, and should somebody look at this perspective, then probably we can try to hear from the justice dispensation mechanism how they look at this basically. But this could be a valid proposition that they can look at. I feel when you want to submit anything as evidence, specifically from blockchain perspective.
Okay, so anybody in Telangana or any other state where land records are on blockchain, So what is the
Yes,
process? Like somebody has the physical that hierarchy, that family tree, etc., whatever is there in physical
yes,
form. Then
yes.
how they'll migrate to this thing?
See, that's a very interesting proposition, in fact, actually, right? So when you digitize the records, right? So just please understand one thing. If you go back and see, if you go back and see, there's also one contradiction in this perspective. What is the contradiction? If you want to verify the authenticity of the documents, how do you verify it? Here, blockchain, again, there's an hash, obviously, right? For authentication in a blockchain, you use
Yes.
hash, correct? So basically, you can use that for the purpose of understanding whether the land records are in original, or is there any tampering done, or is there any change with respect to the ownership. So whoever is the first owner till the latest owner, all the records can be made available, basically. So should there be any issue, you can come to know, because blockchain does not allow you to tamper or manipulate. But instead you can add another, if you want to change or modify, you can add another block to the same. But again, since date and timestamps are there, you have the clear distinction that this has changed, or this is there's some issue here. So thereby, they want to ensure that these risks of the title related litigation is reduced. But we are awaiting what could be the practical scenarios, because till now no practical legal scenarios have cropped up. So we are presuming that if something crops up, only then we will be able to understand the real problem. But as of now, everything is good,
Okay. Okay.
because that's a presumption we are making.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say is that should you wish to produce that as an evidence, you can make this as a ground, and you may be exempted from issuing a 65B certificate in this regard.
Yeah, got it.
Yes. So participants, any other queries with respect to this? Are you clear? Please let me know. Give me some feedback so that if you're ready, okay. Otherwise, we'll go to the next. Pranav, can we move to the next slide? Yeah, we'll go to the second PPT.
Okay. Thank you, Kim.
So shall we take a break of 10 minutes?
Done. So we'll catch back at 4.
So how
Okay.
many slides
Thank you.
we need to catch
10
up?
or 10 or 15.
Okay. And then do we have an exam today?
Yeah, you have a quiz at the end.
Okay.
You
So
can check
these
with Pranav
slides
on the
are
timing.
included.
No,
These
no, these
slides are
slides are not
included.
included. No, no, these slides are not included.
Okay. Okay.
Only the first two slides, first two session slides are included.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So we'll take a break. We'll catch up at 4.
Okay.
Yeah, done. Is everyone back from the break?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So quickly, let's get into some case studies. So just thought of just taking you through how courts have determined some things relating to digital evidence. Right now, if we can go to the next slide. Yes. Now, the in this particular case called Tukaram versus Manik Rao, see the court had come up with a distinct judgment. What is that? It says that when you have new techniques and new devices, obviously, they're going to be susceptible to tampering because it's not possible otherwise. So they said more than it, the first thing that the court will look into is the authenticity and the accuracy. So that has to be there as part of any new technology or any new device. So authenticity and accuracy will have to be the standard proof, basically. So that has to be there rather than for putting the focus on documentary evidence. So the fact that we have to understand here is that, see, whatever be the kind of new technologies that are or devices that will be rolled out. So we'll have to look at the fact that any evidence that you produce there, right? The emphasis has to be on the authenticity of the evidence, and it has to be it it also has to be upon the uh, accuracy of the evidence. So authenticity and accuracy are two things that we'll have to look into. If you remember in the morning, we were discussing about the best evidence rule. So best evidence rule to give you the understanding about what is considered as a best evidence rule. Normally, the fact is three things are required for an evidence under the best evidence rule. Number one, integrity. Number two, authenticity, and number three, non-repudiation. If these three elements are present, then that will be considered as a best evidence, basically. So whatever be the evidence, whether it is physical, actual, virtual, or digital, I'll have to ensure that the evidence that I'm producing is first having integrity. Number two, it's having what do you say? There's no repudiation, so non-repudiation is there. And the third one being that it is authentic. So these three are the principles that the law will look into while actually trying to make use of the best evidence rule when it's relying upon any evidence. So in the same situation in this case, the Supreme Court came up with a verdict that you should have more focus on the authenticity and accuracy of the evidence rather than merely saying it documentary evidence. Because if you look at the IT Act, IT Act provides legal recognition to electronic transactions. So which means that anything which is electronic becomes legally valid under the IT Act. However, if you just make a reliance that just because it's an electronic record, I'll consider it as evidence, that is not merely enough for an admissibility. So there should also be a criteria for not just the documentary perspective, but also the perspective has to be on with respect to the accuracy and the authenticity. So how do you ensure that the evidence which is produced from any new device or any new technology is authentic and accurate? So that is where the law looks into in this case, basically. So that's the whole concept why hashing and the concept of providing standards and also from the concept of affixing digital or electronic signature, all these came into picture altogether. Because how do you authenticate an electronic record currently under the IT Act? If you look at what we discussed in the last class, section 4, I told you an electronic record can be authenticated by either using a digital signature or by using an electronic signature. So that's how you authenticate a record. So authenticity is there when you have the electronic or digital signature. Accuracy is there because when I'm trying to have this hash value, I'm trying to prove the accuracy of the document. So this is the exact interpretation that we need to make. So are we clear on this case where the Supreme Court has mentioned that the new technology and new kinds of devices will be prone to more kind of tampering. So the emphasis will have to be relied upon accuracy and authenticity of the evidence rather than merely the documentary perspective. So this is the judgment given by the Supreme Court. So are you clear till here? Okay, please let's go to the next slide. Okay. So in this case, which is the Genuine Jewelry versus State of Maharashtra. So this case, now whatever you are able to see on the screen, right? I will tell you how we actually try to use this in our legal practice. Suppose I am relying on this case for my answer or for my case. What do? You're able to see the date, no, over there. I mean, year, sorry, not date, year 2017. So 2017 is the year. SCC Online. SCC Online means it's a tool which is called Supreme Court Cases. So it is reported in that SCC where Bombay, BOM, Bombay 1771. So this whole thing is called citation. It is called citation. So when you say you provide the citation of a case, this is the citation that we have to provide. When is it reported? Which year? Where? So this is the whole reason that we call a citation. So whatever cases I am relying on for my argument, we must actually have the citation put, and this citation has to be put in a proper manner. 2017 SCC Online, it is reported in SCC Online, Bombay 1771. So this is the citation where it is available. Just like the path in your language, it's the path basically. So that's exactly the thing that we actually use. That's called citation. So this is something that we use for our case arguments. So in this case, what has happened? The Bombay High Court held that the certificate under 65B does not prove the actual correctness of entries, basically, and it only provides admissibility. See, that is what we are talking about. The actual correctness of these entries are not proved by 65B certificate. So therefore, should you wish to challenge any kind of data that is there, suppose, for example, I gave you the example, in the afternoon also. Suppose I want to produce a CC camera, okay, footage as an evidence. So just by putting 65B certificate, it does not really prove whether that particular data is correct or not. That is the second factor. It only proves that it is whatever is required for the certificate. That means the device with respect to the accuracy of the device. That device accuracy you're certifying. That's where we mentioned. We never ever pointed out saying the evidence is correct. We never did that. We only emphasize that the computer is working fine, the output of data is fine, but it was used in the regular course of business, and no manipulation was done, and it was done when the time it was extracted. Then that at that time also it was working fine. This is the date and time of extraction. We pointed all that, but we did not talk about the actual data. Whether that proves this particular point or not is not our concern when you issue the 65B certificate. Are you trying to understand what I'm saying? Suppose I record the scene of an accident. Whether accident, whose fault is there, who's doing anything, we cannot certify that. We only can certify that this is the video which I have taken, and this is the evidence that I have produced. Then when I've recorded that video on my mobile was working fine. No tampering is there. It was used in the regular course of business. No effect with respect to the accuracy, and it is what do you say? All these factors we are relying upon, but we are not talking about whether that accident is the exact accident in this case or not. That is the secondary affair. We are not talking about that in the certificate, but we are only trying to talk about the device and the device related aspect. So the Bombay High Court definitely said that 65B does not prove the actual correctness of entries. It does not dispense away the proof for the genuineness of entries. Yes, whether it's a fake entry or a genuine entry, that's a different matter altogether. It only authenticates the genuineness of the copy or the computer printout. So therefore, you have to be clear on this area. So if I produce a WhatsApp message or an email for that matter, it doesn't mean that the content of the email is true. It only means that whatever email I've produced, the copy is true and no tampering has been done. Are you able to understand? Participants, I need a response. Are you clear on this? Because it's a very, very important distinction you have to keep in mind. Yep. Just because you submit 65B doesn't mean that your evidence is accepted. It's only admitted. So this is where even Bombay High Court clarified. So nothing wrong with the content. Content, you'll have to again handle it in a different way. This is only with respect to the copy that you have produced. So are we clear on this? You get the point?
Yep.
Yeah. So great. Next, yes, next. Let's go to the next slide. Yes. So in what stage of the trial can you produce a 65B certificate? So therefore, in this case of Paras Jain versus State of Rajasthan, the court has specifically said that 65B certificate can be filed at any stage of the trial. So it need not be produced initially. Whatever be the trial stage, whether you're in the argument stage or whether you're in the concluding stage or whether you're in between, anything is fine. But the court has not given any directions saying that it has to be only filed at this particular stage. At any stage, it can be filed. That's what this particular case is all about. So are you clear on this? So the certificate can be issued and can be filed at any stage of the trial. That's what is this case all talks all about. Paras Jain versus State of Rajasthan. Now let's go a bit more further. Kundan Singh versus State. So in this particular case, the said certificate can be produced when the electronic record is to be admitted and taken on record. See, this is where we are trying to say. If you want the admission and if you want that evidence to be taken on record, then basically the certificate is produced. But when the prosecution, defense, or any party to a civil litigation wants that to be marked as an exhibit and read in evidence. So this is what I was trying to tell you. So when I say that I'm just wanting to admit it and put that evidence on record, only then 65B will be produced, not for any other aspect. So should I wish to produce any electronic record as electronic evidence or digital evidence, and I want that to be on record or admitted, then I'll have to be putting that in evidence. Like you all, like many of you have written in the 65-bit certificate, right? You marked it as an exhibit, 1W. I think one or two of you have done that. So please understand that for marking in the marking that same in the record, right? So you will be required to have that certificate in place. So are you clear with these two also? The first case that we discussed was Supreme Court saying that new technologies and new devices will come in. Those will be prone to tampering. So you will have to focus upon the accuracy and the authenticity rather than mere documentary. So that is the first case that we talked about. Second case, Bombay High Court mentioning that actual correctness of the content has got nothing to do with 65B certificate. 65B certificate does not in any manner certify the actual correctness of the content. It only certifies about the process with respect to the copy. Now, third case, Paras Jain. It can be filed at any stage of trial. Fourth, in this case, we already tried to say that should you want your evidence to be put on record or should you want your evidence to be admitted, then you should have the 65B certificate. So, if you have 65B certificate, it will be taken. Your evidence will be admitted and taken on record. Later, you debate on the pros and cons, but it will first be admitted and taken on record, and you can mark the same in as exhibits in your litigation, basically. So you got this point also. Yes, please let's go to the next one. Yes. So in this is another case. This is with respect to bail. So Pravata Kumar Tripathi versus Union of India. So again, look at this. This is one another case. So what did it say here? When you're filing a bail application, it is not necessary to ask the prosecution to actually satisfy the requirement under Anwar versus Bashir. So therefore, you will have to. It is not required at the bail application at the time of consideration. I mean, when you want to file a bail, you know bail, right? So when you are arrested, you might have heard non-bailable cases. You must have heard about bailable cases. What is the difference between these two? In non-bailable cases doesn't mean that you will not get bail, but normally the difference between non-bailable warrant and bailable cases is non-bailable offences are very serious in nature. So since they're serious in nature, they are called non-bailable. That doesn't mean you don't get bail, but you don't get bail as a matter of right. That is what you have to understand. So bailable cases means offense is not much. It's not as serious as non-bailable. Non-bailable warrants are issued only in cases of serious offences, not in the cases of simple violations. So if it is non-bailable, it is a serious offense. First point. Second point, you have to understand that bail is not given to you as a right, but you can still get bail, no problem, should you wish to satisfy the conditions. But with respect to bailable offences, they are less offensive than they are less serious. Bail is given to you as a matter of right, basically. So you understand. Have you got the difference between bailable offences and non-bailable offences? Do you have a clarity now, participants? Are you aware of these two now?
Yes.
Bailable and non-bailable.
Yes.
And one of the fundamental aspects I want to clarify here is IT Act in the year 2000 when it came in, majority of the cybercrimes were non-bailable. This is meaning what? It was serious. Serious punishments were given in the year 2000. But when the act got amended in the year 2008, we made all the offences as bailable. That means less serious. So bail can be given as a matter of right. So that is also one of the reasons why we say the entire concept of IT Act is not a penalty or a penal law. It is an act which facilitates legal recognition to electronic transactions. So please understand the factor. 2000 we had very severe punishments, severe penalties, and almost all cyber crimes were non-bailable. But in 2008, the entire concept of punishment was withheld down. So therefore, we came up with non-bailable offences. We changed from non-bailable offences to bailable offences. That means the punishment has gone down. So that is why we call it as not a penal statute. So that is one of the reasons. And second, just to make it very clear, bail is obtained in the as a matter of right. So what does this case say? Should you wish to move a bail, right? And if you want to move for a bail, you have to move a bail application. So at the time when you move your bail application, it is not necessary that the prosecution to ask the prosecution. There are two parties, no, prosecution and the defense. Right. Defense is against whom the case is filed. Prosecution is the entity filing or the person filing the case is called prosecution. The person defending or person against whom the case is filed is called the defendant. So plaintiff and defendant, we call them in legal terms. Plaintiff means the person who's filing the case. Defendant means the person against whom the case is filed. So answer is there in the question itself. Defendant, I defend somebody, then he becomes a defendant. Defendant. When can I defend somebody? Unless somebody files a case, I can't defend somebody. So therefore, that's a difference between plaintiff and defendant. So this case very clearly states that at the time when I want to move my bail application, it is not necessary to ask the particular party, who is the prosecution, to satisfy the 65B criteria laid down in Anwar versus Bashir before taking into account forensic examination as well as the CD. In this case, we were running on CDs and other areas altogether. So what did this case say? At the time when you want to move your bail application, you need not always ask the prosecution to satisfy all the criteria. What is the criteria? 65B certificate. So that's the whole point. Now let's go to the next slide, Pranav. So 65B certificate is not required for admitting documents in family courts. So please understand that for family matters, where is the court that you have to go? Family court. So divorce, if you want to go on domestic violence, on other issues which are pertaining to family, right? So those are to be resolved in family courts. And for family courts, there is no need of 65B certificate. That is what this particular case says. 65B not required for admitting documents in family courts. So please understand the example. If you recall the case that we have discussed initially, you remember we discussed multiple cases of which I told you that one husband and wife where the privacy breach has taken place in Switzerland, and they came back and again they traveled separately to India, and then we were talking about jurisdiction. Now, in similar way, if I'm able to extract the evidence from my partner's phone and I want to produce that as evidence, then in that cases 65B is not relevant because it's a family dispute. So 65B certificate need not be required for admitting documents in family court. That's what this case is. Deepali Santosh Lokhande versus Santosh Vasantrao Lokhande. So civil writ petition number. So here the main aspect is compensation. So that's why they filed a civil writ. Please go ahead. Pranav, next slide. Yes. So this is one another instance where specifically in this case Puneet Prakash versus Suresh Prakash. Puneet Prakash versus Suresh Kumar. So in this case, what has happened? Photographs were taken digitally, and the person who has taken the photographs himself appeared in court and he is given the statement. So his statement itself was sufficient. So therefore, no need to take 65B certificate. So this is one more area that I was trying to tell you. Should you have the testification? I mean, if should you testify whatever report you have produced? Yes. So this is where is one another area. So if you have somebody who's in charge of the computer or a computer system, and if directly that person comes before the court and then makes a statement, provides a statement, then in those scenarios also 65B was not being applied mechanically. The digital photograph which is proved constitutes electronic record, it is admissible. So that's what the court has given basically. So the photograph, the person who has taken the photograph himself appeared in court and he made a statement, and the statement was satisfactory. So the court said we don't need to have 65B certificate in this case. So I hope you are able to understand the different versions of 65B basically. So any doubts and any clarifications till now?
No, sir.
Great. Yes, Pranav, let's move to the next slide. Yeah. So whether electronic record can be exhibited only by a person who has issued the certificate. It's not mandatory. So therefore, this is one another point basically. It is not mandatory to call the person issuing the certificate unless objected and integrity is doubtful. Now, this is in case of K. Ramarajam, specifically Appu versus Inspector of Police. So let me tell you what happened in this case. Now, let's say you have issued the 65B certificate. I told you in the morning when we are talking about 65B, you may be asked by the court to come and appear in person, and cross-examination and things like that may be done. But that is not mandated unless I am doubtful about the integrity of the person. Suppose I feel that the person is not actually having good integrity or authenticity, then I can insist. Otherwise, it's not mandated. So just because you give 65B certificate doesn't mean that you will be called to the court. Unless the other party says, no, the integrity of the person is questionable, is doubtful, only then the court, in its opinion, if it feels that there's a requirement, then you will be asked to come. Otherwise, you don't need to come in. I hope you are able to understand the point. Yes, let's go to the next slide. In this case, a fresh 65 certificate, 65B certificate was produced. So what is this? If the certificate is which was produced earlier was rejected since it is not having proper requirements. So this is where I said, if your certificate does not have the essential ingredients of 65B, you will be asked to submit a fresh certificate again. So that is why I wanted you to look at the hands-on experience so that you know what to include and how to proceed further. So if you issue a certificate and that issuance of certificate does not completely absolve you, so should anybody say that that certificate does not have the essentials of 65B, then you will be asked to submit the certificate again freshly once more. So please be aware of that. So just merely writing on piece of paper and saying 65B certificate is not going to be of any use. You should have the essential ingredients of 65. Should your certificate not have that, you will be asked to submit a fresh certificate again. Yes. Pranav, next slide. So these are all different kinds of cases that we are trying to just put in. The whole idea is to give you some different perceptions of how courts are trying to interpret. I got them into picture. So nothing to confuse you or something like that. Just to give you some understanding on the practical aspects. First case we already discussed about the technologies and devices. And second case 65B. Why is it and what does it prove? Third case, it is not at any stage you can file it. Fourth, it actually talks about when you want to put that as when you want to admit it and put it on record. Then fifth, we also discussed in what cases it will not be required. It will not be required in family cases or courts, issues relating to family matters. Sixth, you will not be required to produce the certificate in case the person directly comes and testifies in a court. So that's another one. Next, certain point that we were just discussing about was with respect to the fact that you don't require 65B certificate in case the person is directly coming to the court and giving a testimony. Next, if your certificate is not in compliance with the law and the essential ingredients in the 65B, your certificate will be rejected and you will have to issue a fresh certificate. These are the different versions of interpretation that the court has. So just thought of just sharing all these with you for an understanding sake. So in this is one another instance where email printout was used as evidence. So this is decided by the High Court of Calcutta, and the court was actually trying to decide whether the email was printout was admissible or not. And what happened here? The email was downloaded and printed from an email account of the person, and that was proved by 65B with reference to 88 of the 88A of the Evidence Act. The testimony of the witness to carry out such proceeding to download and print also was sufficient. Yes. So here in this case, what has happened? Again, there's the case of something what we discussed earlier. The person who has downloaded and printed that also came and he gave his testimony as a witness to the court. And the court really thought that this is sufficient to prove the evidence. So therefore, admissibility. So again, you need not really provide a certificate in this case also. This is with respect to email printout. So the person who has downloaded this email and who has printed this email actually satisfied all the conditions under 65B. He came, he told that this particular computer where the email was actually sent was working fine. It was used in the regular course of business. The accuracy of the content is good. No tampering is there. And it was working fine at that point when the evidence was extracted and a printout was taken. So all these 5 conditions he is satisfied because he came directly to the court. He actually gave his testimony and as a witness, and then the court felt that it satisfied all the requirements under 65B. So therefore, it is said there is no need to actually come up with 65B, and it said this is sufficient to prove that there is an electronic communication. So these are all 2014 and earlier matters. But the present matter that you have to look into is the fact that whatever be the situation, if it's secondary, you will have to produce a certificate. That's what the present 2020 Arjun Pandit Rao case says. So these are all different versions, but the final version is this. You have to have in place the 65B certificate. Yes, Pranav, next slide. So this is again, source and authenticity are the two factors for electronic evidence. So Supreme Court again, once again clarified the authenticity and source are the two factors. Basically, this is with respect to recorded conversation. Let's go to the next. So here also it's more to explain about the fact that general apprehensions cannot be made, cannot make an evidence defective. See, that is something that we have to look at. So electronic records are admissible. Any electronic record is admissible as evidence. And if someone challenges the accuracy on the ground that there is a misuse or operating failure, then the person challenging it should prove beyond reasonable doubt. This is what I was trying to tell you in the morning. If I'm trying to produce my evidence in a criminal case, I must be able to demonstrate beyond reasonable doubt. Only then this particular evidence will be accepted, and the court will try to rely upon this evidence. Should I fail to prove beyond doubt, the court will not accept my argument and will reject this evidence as well, because beyond reasonable doubt is something I have to prove. So that's another factor that I have to take into consideration. And burden of proof is again shifted to the person challenging it. If he is not able to prove beyond doubt, then it's a different matter altogether. Mere theoretical and general apprehensions cannot make clear evidence defective and inadmissible. So this is again, once again, the version of the court with respect to admissibility. Yes. Pranav, next slide. So this is again call data records. So for call data records, again, if you go back to that Afzal Guru's case, I told you Supreme Court had overruled in that case that despite the fact you did not have certificate, still call data records were admissible. But Now come the situation of Anwar versus Bashir. So strictly speaking, if you do not produce the certificate, then the call data records are inadmissible. This is another case, basically. Next. Whether application to call a person as a witness was taken, the printout be allowed. Yes. So in this case, again, see, a different version has been taken by the court. So there's an application filed to call the person who had taken the memory card from a mobile, and then he had transferred the audio recording from to what do you say, from that memory card to a laptop, and from laptop to an audio CD. So 65B was not filed. So the court rejected, saying oral evidence is not admissible and application is rejected. So look at the versions that the courts have taken. In one perspective, they have taken a stand that it is sufficient that if the person who has taken that or done that physically come to the court and testify. But in this case, even if the person had come and then he had actually gone ahead and testified, the court considered that this is an oral evidence and then this is not admissible. So see the different versions being taken. This is the confusion that we have with respect to the current status of electronic evidence. But 2020 judgment of Arjun Pandit Rao makes it very clear that no certificate, no admissibility. Next. This is one another requirement. See, look at the different versions taken. It is not necessary to compare the hash value of the hard disk with the hash value of the footages, as the hard disk has entire files and it has a different hash value than the files of the footage. So this is one another factor. When you are making the hash value of the entire hard disk, there's definitely going to be a different hash value altogether, because the hard disk may contain so many different files. So in those cases, how do you actually try to work out? You should only take the hash value of the respective file, but not the entire hard disk. If you take the entire value of the hash value of the hard disk, and then you copy that file and take the hash value, definitely both will be different. So keep that in mind, that whichever is the file, only that file's hash value will have to compute. So I hope you got an understanding. Please. Go ahead.
So when we submit this hash value actually, because whatever 65 we found, whatever we are there, we are not mentioning anywhere. So where we have to mention the hash value?
Not you. Not you. Not you. No. The certifying, I mean, the investigation agency. You do not have the power to do the computation of hash value.
Okay.
So when the investigation officer is filing the evidence before the court, the investigation officer will have to produce the hash value certificate and tell that this is the hash value of the original, this is the hash value of the copy. So as an individual, we do not have the right to do that. Only the investigation officer has got the right to do that.
Okay.
Please, let's go to the next slide. See, all these are different versions, basically. See, look at this. This is another one, footage of CC camera. So again, if it is desired that they give a statement in any proceedings pertaining to electronic record, it may be permissible. So this is again the requirement of certificate. See, you should again have the certificate signed by the person who's in the responsible position of the device. So this is where I said, if you wish to make a certificate, yes, you must either be the person who's owning it, or the person in charge, or the person who's at least having some authority on it, and you must give that certificate. So any person can give the certificate, provided he has got this. So that's why I wanted all of you to draft it out. Yes. Next. So again, same thing we are trying to talk about. Computer generated electronic records are admissible at a trial if proved in accordance with 65B. Okay, which means either a document or a printout or anything. So long as I am able to satisfy the ingredients of 65B, my evidence can be admissible. Failing which, my evidence will not be considered as legally admissible. So therefore, whatever be the format, whether I'm putting it in a document or whether I'm taking a printout or whether I'm doing any kind, whether I'm putting it on a hard disk or a pen drive, whatever, irrespective of the kind of thing, provided I provided I meet all the criteria under 65, it will be accepted. If I don't, it will not be accepted. Yes, Pranav, next. So these are different versions. I just try to collate so that you get a basic understanding of how the courts have interpreted. But the fact remains is that now you understand one thing. Despite all of these, the golden principle is today if I want to produce any electronic or digital evidence, and if that evidence is secondary in nature, I should have a certificate. That is what Arjun Pandit Rao says. Should I not submit that, then the court will render it inadmissible. So therefore, I cannot put the evidence on record and it will not be admitted. So get that point correct. So all these were just to show you that how the courts have taken different views earlier. But now the fact is, or whatever be the evidence that you are producing, electronic evidence, if it is secondary in nature, it has to be accompanied by a certificate. No certificate, no admissibility. So that's the present situation that you have to keep in mind, irrespective of whatever it is. So I hope today you got an understanding on the digital evidence, the requirements, the admissibility, the different views, the certificate, the different kinds of ways in which the cases are adjudicated, and all these. So I hope you got some understanding today. So with this, I would like to end my session today. So, do you have any clarifications, any doubts with respect to evidence? You can feel free to connect and ask me. Otherwise, you can let me know so that I would also like to hear from you. How did you find drafting out this certificate, and what was your experience on digital evidence? I'd like to hear from all of you.
It was good, sir. I mean, like we are getting exposed to probably a mock-up of a real world scenarios. So it is really helpful.
Great. So I'm happy. What about other participants?
Whatever doubt we were having, actually, I'm talking about myself. So I was having in first class itself
Okay.
regarding digital evidence. It got
Okay.
clear.
Okay. Now you got some clarity on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. What about other participants? So how did you find, I mean, all about digital evidence today? We discussed different areas, sources, some cases, and then certification. Then you went on to actually practically draft, and then a lot of things you had done today. So I just wanted to understand from you.
Yeah, it was good to know all of this information, Sir Sushant. Actually, like just submitting the evidence and how it has to be submitted. It is really an informative session today.
Okay, great. Yes, other participants.
Actually, it was good and very practical also. So
Okay.
we had partial information, which is at times dangerous also. So so you clarified lot many things. Thank you very much.
No problem at all. Yeah, what about other participants? How did you find putting your hands on and drafting a legal document?
Yes, it was good experience when we came to know the actual part, how
Okay,
it is being processed and all. Case
okay,
studies also, helps to understand in a different manner rather than the
okay,
theory.
okay.
So
And
yeah, it was
last session we did interpretation. Now this session we did something on drafting a certificate. And in the next session, basically, well, the last session that we have next week, I would also be showing you how to draft some policies so that you'll also have an understanding on the policy drafting. That's very important as a cyber security professional to be aware of policies. So we'll also be drafting just like how we did a draft of this 65B certificate. I'll also be making you do drafting of these policies in the real time so that you get an understanding.
Yeah, sure.
Other participants?
Actually, according to me, I was working in SOC also, Sushant, earlier, and
Okay,
now
okay,
currently in digital security.
okay,
Like I was not aware of the subject called cyber law earlier,
okay,
uh,
okay,
and like generally we are working on the mitigations and other activities, but how to raise a act or how to raise a policy and other things are in depth about by these learnings only.
okay.
So still, if we revise this, I think it can be applied in the future.
Yeah, yeah, sure, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
And we will also be, I mean, looking at those in the next class where, we'll be also drafting out these policies. And I wish that's where I wanted to, also give you a hands-on so that you practically know how a policy is drafted and things like that.
And another only question I will not say. Generally, in an organization where who will be raising these kind of things?
See, 65B certificate can be issued by anybody in the organization, provided you have authority. See, suppose in your department, you're the team leader or you're a head with respect to that.
Okay.
And you think that for example, if you're a systems admin or a network admin, and if you are of the opinion that there's a requirement here, basically, let's say some
Mm.
network related issue has happened and you are the responsible person, you can issue 65B certificate. Likewise, if you are the IT admin or the systems admin, anything going wrong and you find that there is something that you have to report, you can do that. So this is typically used in for anybody who's either leading a team or who's in charge or at least who's heading a particular team, ideally.
Okay.
So this certificate can be done using that way. But the policy, if you are into the domain of cyber security, if you're looking after threat management, if you're looking at risk analysis, if you're into audit, if you're into mitigation, whatever it is, you can have an understanding of the policy making also. Or if you're working in the cybersecurity team or compliance department, whatever be it.
Mhm.
So, policy making will really help you.
Okay. No, I mean to say when we are negotiating any particular tool, you say, okay, with a client.
Okay. Okay.
So does these all policies coming to picture at initial?
Definitely they will come in. Definitely they'll come in because the moment somebody see the moment your tool connects or collects any kinds of sensitive and personal data, automatically they will have to comply to the same. And how do you today exercise a compliance? The 100% compliance mechanism would be only in having a policy in place and having these policies drafted in accordance with law. So
Okay.
so long as you have these policies drafted in law, you are 100% compliance with the law.
Yeah, that's good.
Because even ISO 27000 also only satisfies 60% of the compliance. Still, there's
Mm.
40% compliance which is needed. So again, going ahead for doing that again, doing this kind of an audit would be an expensive affair. Again, would be also a time-taking process because you'll have to go for a certification. I'm one of the 45 auditors, so you'll have to look into somebody like me, and then you'll have to get them on board. You have to do all these. So again, maintaining that again, just like the ISO certification, we may have to do an audit maybe yearly once or yearly twice, looking at all these. So instead of doing all of these areas, I would suggest having an agreement in place which can simply agreement or policies, whatever be it. This can solve the problem very easily because the law, unlike the other laws, the Indian law is very flexible. It has given you three options. Either you do the first thing and have compliance in place. Second, either you have your own set of policies, get it approved by the nodal agency or by the central government. Or third is you have in place reasonable security and due diligence. So how will you demonstrate that you have? Policies are the only way that you can demonstrate. And apart from that, also agreement is there where a data protection agreement can be executed. So if you are working for a company which has a tool and that tool collects any kind of sensitive or personal information of any particular customer, whatever be it, if the tool is for a security purpose or whether it's for pen test or whether it's for protecting the security of the company, whatever be it, or it's a normal tool, if the tool has something to do with the sensitive and personal data of the customers, you will be required to comply. So in those cases, also your policies will help you.
Okay. Thank you.
So participants, thank you. Participants, any other queries? If you're done, then we'll probably wind up the session. So all the best for the quiz today. And I just want to tell you two more things before I sign off. The first thing is, please be very careful on the options. No 65, no 66A. Once again, please read the question properly and answer. All the answers sometimes may fit in, but be very careful on the kind of answers that you choose. And time bound process again. Yeah, so that's what I just wanted to tell you. All the best, and hoping again to discuss with you back next week or next Saturday, where we'll have the last class. And one more thing, I had spoken to Dr. Shinu about the presentation part. So she says that since this is an MTech program, you would be having only an examination and not the presentation as the final exam. So therefore, quiz will be one form of exam, and the other form of exam will be a final exam. Regarding assignment, I will clarify with her and then come back to you.
Cool. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
so much, participants. Stay safe and meet you all again next.